Who are your locks? Who you think is going to win? It's a very cheap, easy way to say that.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, or the polls are really tight or close. But I think, to borrow a crypto term, there's been a lot of like fear, uncertainty, and doubt in the polls in a lot of different directions, to the point where I think it's really hard. And if you honestly are ballsy enough to make a call right now, I think that's incredible and very ballsy of you. And yeah, I will put my money where my mouth is. It's very hard to say. The cynical version of me wants to say that Trump has the edge, and I think that, you know, both of them are fighting like a race to be the worst at like campaigning. Like, Trump is not doing himself any favors. Kamala, for all the reasons we talked about, is not doing herself many favors either. But ultimately, I don't know. Maybe I'm just feeling a little bit hopeful, and I think Kamala Harris can pull it out. But
I like your hopefulness.
Yeah,
I like that.
I'm just gonna put that out there.
You're saying Kamala then?
Yes.
Okay.
Same.
Okay. You too, Christina?
Yeah, I feel like she's gonna edge it out.
Let's go.
Just a little bit.
Okay.
I'm
Kamala
riding with
edge it.
Dan.
I have to
So,
agree
I
with
think
Dan
Joe's
because
got
he's
it.
gonna be my
She's
future
gonna-
husband. So
Wait, what'd you say, Lance?
I said I'm riding
Lance-
with Biden. I think Joe's still got it. I hate all the haters you don't believe.
Lance is gonna write in Joe Biden.
on everything.
Lance is gonna illegally.
He's gonna enter the country illegally and vote.
Lance is gonna vote in Vancouver, Washington, and pull the okey doke. No, yeah. Any other takers? Anyone else want to go on record?
I genuinely don't know. I will say I have an overwhelming sense of dread, but that's not new. I have that every single day. I'm being treated for that. But so whenever I feel that the election is going to go a certain way, usually the opposite happens. So I'm feeling currently that Trump's probably going to win. I don't have a strong feeling. I think there are reasons why Kamala can pull it off if you look at certain data points. If you consider the prospect of whether or not she's being undercounted in polling due to newly registered voters who are mobilized by abortion, if you take into account the fact that she's actually gaining with white, non-college educated voters and white women, which is pretty surprising. And to her credit, maybe disproves my point about her theory that, running to the right hasn't been working because, she's winning the suburban wine mom vote. But having said that, though, it's so close that I feel like since it's that close, my gut tells me that it's probably going to be bad. And I've kind of been conditioned to expect the worst from America because we are a fundamentally stupid country. Myself included, I'm deeply stupid. I'm American. I can't help it. Mm-hmm. So I think Kamala could win, but I feel like it's probably going to be Trump. But because I'm feeling that, maybe the opposite will happen because that's the way things happen. So it makes me kind of encouraged in a weird way because I'm like, oh God, Trump's going to win. Does this mean that Kamala's going to win? You know what I mean?
I secretly exactly have your opinion, Mike. I know what you mean. I just wanted to get the conversation going.
Well, I was on a previous episode of Power Report. I was Dan knows where I'm going. I was, being skeptical about Kamala's chances, and
in defense of Bam, me too, because Bam, go ahead.
Well, and I was just being skeptical. I'm like, well, this is a racist ass, sexist
country.
Yeah.
It's gonna be tough for her. And then our co-host of that evening said, Bam, cut that shit out. Stop being negative. I'm tired of hearing that shit. And you're just putting bad vibes in the air, basically. And she told me to just basically be confident that Kamala's going to win. And I was like, okay, you know what? If you're that confident that Kamala's going to win, if you're telling me she's going to win, I'm just going to believe you rather than stress about it like Mike.
That's smart.
I'm just not going to stress about it. And she was confident. So I'm saying Kamala. Now, if she's wrong, I might have to take a flight. But but yeah, so I'm just gonna say Kamala because she told me to shut the hell up.
That's a good quote right there. Kamala,
Look,
Kamala Harris, 2024. Shut the fuck up. More like it.
I think there's some folks at the Brennan Center. I hope I'm getting that correctly, but they're one of the few folks, if I'm remembering, who are actually planning for like, okay, how would a state respond if Donald Trump was like, oh, I'm sending in Idaho's National Guard into Washington to handle some sort of like Antifa uprising or whatever, right? Like, they're actually creating the framework for states to actually engage with a Trump election sort of thing. And, you know, we're even seeing it from the Republican Secretary of State in Georgia, who's like, yeah, we're not going to play that find me 11,000 votes bullshit game over here. We're not doing that this time around. No, sir. No, sir, Bob. So I have some more faith in institutions, and to play the, you know, which parasocial relationship person said who game. I think Emma said something recently, Emma Vigland, that was just like, let's not forget that the media has the mainstream media where we're getting all this information about polling and it being a tight race. They have an interest in the narrative of it being a tight race and polling being close. I'm not necessarily saying they're PCH, people doing motorbikes, sorry, but I'm not necessarily
not the cops
saying,
this time coming for you.
Yeah, for once, it's fun times on the Pacific Coast Highway. But I'm not saying that like the mainstream media outlets like your Quinnipiacs or you know, morning consults are manipulating polls any more than they already do. But I am saying that your CNNs of the world, your cable news of the world are interested in it's a tight race. Keep it locked. Keep watching our coverage. Subscribe to our stuff, because this is desperation hockey for mainstream media. It's collapsing right in front of us, and so people trust folks like us on screen, and even the folks we've talked about in the past on this episode, they trust those institutions, quote unquote, more than the institutions, right? And there's pros and cons to all of that. Like I said, Bam and I's example of, you trust Al Jazeera to a point, but once they start talking about oil in the Middle East or Qatari politics or human rights abuses, maybe you tap the brakes. You just got to like be smart about the media you're consuming, and ultimately that'll work out.
Yeah, well said. Well said. Matt,
Does Matt have a...
I know, I was curious too, but I'm like, I feel like Matt has a pretty good track record, which is why.
Let's keep talking over Matt. I really enjoyed that version of the show. He's tired anyways. He said we can railroad over him. It's fine.
Oh yeah, I was no problem this episode. Usually I'm the one yapping away. So, I think I think this is the year. Jill Stein's gonna finally pull it off.
That's right.
Yes.
Let's go.
Get that 5%, girl.
Hell yeah.
Third time's a charm.
I've been pretty I've been saying, I would say for the past couple of weeks and maybe even months, that I feel like at this point it does seem like Kamala will win, but that feeling has diminished little by little every day, every week that has gone by. And I feel like it's getting closer. I still think she will pull it off. As of right now, obviously, there's still, a week and a half to go. Anything could happen. But it does seem like she'll pull it off. But it felt much more of a sure thing right after she announced and had all that momentum, and before she her campaign basically threw it all away with this weird turn where they were approaching these barely existent non-Trump anti-Trump Republicans.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one thing that I will say, just based off my my immediate like social circle, everybody says that I'm in like a bubble and I need to talk to more lefties. My family is basically half fascist, half liberal. And the fascist side, of course, loves Donald Trump. the liberal side is very fired up about Kamala Harris. Unlike other Democrats, unlike Joe Biden, they're like uniquely excited about Kamala Harris. Just talking to a couple of people. That's not worth much. These are just anecdotes. But, if that's some way comparable to other liberals who are also uniquely fired up in a way that I haven't seen, maybe there's something there. Part of it is, I think, the anti-Trump vote as well. Like, they're anti-Trump, and they would be anti-Trump either way. But there is a difference between their response to Biden and their response to Kamala. I do notice that the difference is palpable.
For sure. I knew I had a friend of mine. She was like, she had said that she didn't really care if Trump won because it would make her feel like people cared about Gaza, which I disagreed with. But then like after Kamala, that Trump and Biden. But then after Kamala announced, it was just like a complete like, oh my God, Kamala posting pictures. So it's like crying about like Kamala having a chance. And I was like, oh, okay, interesting.
Yeah. I mean, part of it too is I think a lot of these like liberal women, they do feel better represented by Kamala, especially in this
Right.
moment with Roe v. Wade being overturned, because Biden just was ass on that issue. He could not talk about it well. Kamala on this issue,
We beat Medicare.
amazing. Right, we beat Medicare, and also undocumented immigrants are killing people. That's how Biden talked about abortion. But
Yep.
Kamala is much better about that, and this really, I think that we've underestimated. Well, some people have underestimated just how much of a motivating factor that is for a lot of people. And Kamala is a good representative of like a way to fix that. She understands it, she gets it, and also she's a woman, so she knows better. She knows how to talk to women about this. So that's one thing that takes away from my doomerism a tiny bit. Just the fact that there is that potential secret abortion vote out there. Not to mention abortion ballot initiatives in Nevada, Arizona, Florida. I don't think it's going to make a difference in Florida, but it could help drive up her numbers in Arizona if the people who come out to vote for abortion in Arizona also throw Kamala Harris a vote. And also, when you factor in the fact that the Democrats running in their Senate campaigns are doing pretty good against their Republican opponents, I think that's a good sign, just because we don't really have a lot of ticket splitters. You're usually either voting straight Republican or straight Democrat most of the time. So it would be weird to me to see somebody in Arizona, or a lot of people in Arizona, I should say, vote for Ruben Gallego, but then vote for Donald Trump. That just wouldn't really make a lot of sense to me. So it's really going to be interesting. We're not going to know for sure until election day, obviously, or maybe the day after. There's just so many different variables and factors that make this election so hard to read.
Lance, as a resident, most American
Canadian?
on this panel,
Yeah, wow. I
I think Canadians are more Americans.
Why would you
than,
insult him like that, Dan?
What, you say he does not? He's not
Call
allowed
him
to
an
have an opinion?
American?
I think that he observes us like one would animals at the zoo, and so I think he has a certain perspective that maybe he
yeah,
can bring
I'll-
to us.
Well, you know what's
Yes,
weird is
fam,
you
I
always
meant
see
that.
from like
Okay,
weird
that's
liberal Canadians where they like to hold their nose and be like, "Oh, as a Canadian, I'm so proud. I'm not, messed up like America is." But goddamn, do we ever have a shit ton of our own racism? I mean, we are a colonial genocide project, right? As a country, there's all the same shit you'd find in America here. It's just like we have some forms of healthcare. That's the biggest difference.
Yes.
Yeah. But who do I genuinely think is going to win? I would say if I was just basing it off the maths right now, it does look like there's a slight 1.3%, I think, but that's within the margin of error for Kamala Harris, the Harris and Waltz ticket. And as that gap closes, as we get closer, I'll get more frightened. But I would still say that it looks as if they're going to win. But I cannot shake the kind of Hillary Clinton-y vibes that have been happening over the past couple of weeks that are really, really disturbing. And I don't see a benefit to going to the center or trying to appeal to the center at the expense of your base. I think it's extremely, extremely risky. But we'll see. I mean, hey, maybe they'll switch from Dick Cheney good to Hitler too bad, maybe, and go with that.
Yeah, I saw somebody put a tweet up on on Twitter. I don't remember who said it, so I can't credit them, but they said something like, Republicans, we're fascists. Democrats, we're Republicans. That's kind of,
Oh yeah.
that's what this feels like, you know?
That's America. That's what we got. This ain't some leftist country. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
that's what we got, dude. But we're working on it.
Mhm.
But
yeah.
you know, it's
And we need every single, you know, I'm not vote shaming. I'm not telling you who to vote for. I'm not telling you how to vote for, swing state, whatever. That's not this conversation, right? What are you going to do to be accountable to your choice every single day after election day until the next election? Because I care much more about that. And I think objectively that's much more important and much more substantial than your ballot's important, especially down ballot. The further down ballot you go, the fewer people are voting. So the more your vote matters. So I don't mean to belittle that, but that's one day. That's one form. That's something that you can, you know, in places like California, you can kind of fill it out kind of early and just like, you know, thug it out and just drop it whenever you want to, right? Like that's fun. As long as no one's burning your ballot box, which is happening in a couple places too. See above, welcome to America, right? But what are you going to do every single day after that until election day 2026? Or some people have 2025 elections, whatever, right?
Every year is an election year.
Yeah. Every year is an election year. What are you going to do in between now and then to actually like walk it like you talk it? Like actually speak like and stand up to your political beliefs in your area to expand the left, to create more community. Like actually do
If
that.
tomorrow any single person listening to us goes and donates blood, you'll save 2 lives. That honestly will probably change the lives of 2 individuals who need that blood. If you've never done it before, you can donate blood. It's not painful. It's very fast, and you get free cookies and pizza. It's awesome.
Yeah.
You'll save 2 lives. You want to lord it over other people, say that you're a literal hero and that you saved 2 lives today. But there's one little teeny way that you can actually, you know, make the world better and maybe feel a little bit more hope. Go donate some blood.
You think you just fell out of a coconut tree? Tree? Tree?
They not like us.
Tree? Tree? You think you just fell out of a coconut tree?